Thank you very much. Very pleased to be here in Dubuque and to allow me to come here on your campus and to see all you young athletes and all you, striving individuals that want to go places in sports and in life and accomplish great things. And for you, and for me, this match here still blows me away today because this wasn't my dream going up. And being part of sports teams at a young age, this wasn't what I thought I could get to. Because for me, it was never put out there because it was such a dream that was so unattainable. But for me, it was the opportunity. And how many of you could put yourself in your sport in a pressure situation like this and ultimately be successful? And for me, I never thought I had a chance in this match. And people say, oh, I bet you thought you could win. Not really, but to be there and to have the chance to compete, that's what I live for. But the coaches and the support of my family, they made me believe. And that's how I won the match. And ultimately, I'd like to share with you some of the amazing opportunities that I've had in my life to accomplish winning a gold medal, winning a bronze medal, going through life and going through adversity and challenges, but to believe in yourself. And I think first and foremost, it wasn't just a God-given, gift or a talent. It was the ability to believe, the ability to say, I can do it no matter what's put in front of me. And I want to share with you kind of some of that desire that I had that made me the person I am today, and hopefully what makes me the person in 4 years. My goal, and I'll profess it to you, my goal, I'll be 45 years old. I want to make the Olympic team at 45 years old and to try to win a second gold medal and be the first and the oldest wrestler to do that in the sport of wrestling. That's my dream for you, and each and every one of you, I'm sure, have your goals. And so let me hopefully share with you how I think I'll do it and what I've done in the past that has made me the person today and hopefully will make me the Olympian in the future. And the steps that I want to share with you are 7 steps of my life that helped me to overcome any obstacle. These 7 steps were key in my life. And the first of the 7 steps is to go back to the basics. Each and every one of us, as we were young children, we believed we could do anything. But as we started to go through life, people started to doubt us and tell us we couldn't, we shouldn't, we can't, we won't. And we maybe started to doubt ourselves. What if we could throw off all the negativity? And right at the end of the match, I don't know if you got to see, but I raised my hands. And the first thing I did is I did that. And what that was all those people who told me that I wouldn't and couldn't and shouldn't. I said, look at what I've done. And I had won the gold medal, and I said, this is how I've done it. And I threw it back at him, and that was to say, I didn't believe what you told me then, and I don't believe what you told me today. Because for me, the only person that will determine my future would be me. And every day as a young child, as I grew up, and I grew up in probably a pretty crazy situation, I grew up the youngest of 9 children. And I grew up in a farming community in Afton, Wyoming, a town of 1,500 people, and having 8 brothers and sisters beating me up every day and torturing me wasn't very easy. But there was a term we used on the farm where the cow manure would run downhill. Being the youngest child, I got the crap work. It wasn't very fun, it wasn't very happy, but it was my job, and I took the responsibility to help the family, and I did what I was required to do, and I worked hard. As I started my education, I realized I had a learning disability. I was slower than the other students, and I struggled at school. So they thought about keeping me with my class. They thought about holding me back a year. But they said, no, we're going to help Rulon. He's going to go through and he's going to graduate with his class. But the problem was they pulled me out of my mainstream and they put me in special ed. So each day I fell further behind and I struggled. But what I had really positive people in my life that supported me. My teachers, my coaches, and my family really supported me. And they said, Rulon, you can do it. But I had people who used to tease me and make fun of me and say, oh, you're never going to do it, or tease me about how I read. Because as I read a homework assignment, I'd be the last one done. Everybody would be done with their test after recess. They would come back in, and I'd still be taking my test because I struggled and I didn't have the confidence of my reading. So I didn't quite get it as fast as they did. So it made me work hard. And in school, I had a kid one day who made fun of me and laughed at me, and I got up and I was going to hit him and I was going to hurt him. And I thought to myself, what am I doing? What good will it do me to punch him to prove that I'm bigger and tougher than him compared to turning that energy on yourself? And I said, Rulon, don't lash out, lash in. You let this energy drive you to learn, to improve yourself, to gain knowledge. And that's what I did. And as I slowly started to work, I got better. As I worked in the sports and in and out of the sports, academics, everything else, I gave 100%. And in the sport of wrestling, I started to wrestle at a young age, and I wasn't very good. And most wrestling was between me and my brother. He was 16 months older. And my brother used to tease me and make fun of me and laugh at me and really give me a hard time. And my brother beat me until the end of my junior year. 2 weeks before state, I finally beat my brother after 17 years. I beat him a second, a third, and a fourth time. We went in and coach said, hey, it's 1 week before the regional championships. It's your brother's senior year. Do you care if he goes? I said, no, I don't. My brother went to state and won the state championship my junior year, and I won it my senior year. We were both state champions, and that's what mattered. Because for me, it wasn't just about winning. It was about improving myself, and that's what I did. And in high school, I had a teacher who told me something that has stuck with me even till today. He said, Rulon, if you come to school every day and you give 100% and you try every day, I promise you, you'll be successful. And as a kid in junior, actually as a sophomore in high school, I thought to myself, I said, what is success? Is success gold medal? No. Success high school graduation? No. Making it through my junior year? No. Success for me at that point was making through minute by minute, hour by hour. Because nothing in life was easy for me. It was a challenge. But I set the goal and I said, I will do my best every day. And that's what I did. In my senior year, I won the state title. I sat down with the advisor. I said, I want to go to college and I want to become a teacher to teach all those students like me to learn. And that's what I've been given. That's a gift of knowledge. I want to give that to the next generation. My high school advisor said, Rulon, if you go to college, you'll flunk. You'll fail. Don't go to college because you can't make it. You're not good enough. Go to a technical school where it's easy. I'm like, no. I'm going to college. I talked to my mom. My mom said, Rulon, they don't know your discipline. You can do it. And I went to Rick's Junior College. I spent 2 years at a junior college, and I won the junior college national championship. I then went to University of Nebraska, excuse me, in Lincoln. As I got to Lincoln, the advisor there said, Rulon, you're going into the 4th hardest degree at the University of Nebraska. We here at the university don't think you can make it. We believe within 1 semester to a year, you'll flunk out of school. If you come in, you won't make it. You need to go somewhere else, some other program. I said, no. I want to become a teacher. And they said, we don't think so. I said, please, give me a chance. Let me prove you wrong. But the thing they didn't tell me was that out of high school, I never took any algebra. So I had to make up 2 years of high school algebra, plus my classes, plus wrestling. So I had nonstop work, and every day I asked my teachers, and every day I went to tutors, and I asked my advisors, and I did everything I could to make it through. And I slowly started to learn, and I advanced on through my education. And in wrestling, I never wrestled during the summer, because my childhood in Wyoming, I was a farm boy. We started working on the farm at 6:30 every morning, and it usually ended up about 11 o'clock every night. I didn't have friends. I didn't have dates. I didn't have girls. I had my brother. He was my best friend. He was the only person that I really knew that well. And that was my relationship with people. So for me going to college, I had to learn how to trust, and I had to learn how to work in the sport of wrestling. I wasn't very technically good, but between my junior year that I took one match from being an All-American to my senior year, I trained that summer. And I went from being an okay wrestler to a pretty good wrestler. And I advanced, and I got really, I thought, pretty good. I ended up ranked number 2 in the country going through my senior year of college, and I got to nationals. I'm in the quarterfinals, and I made a mistake. The guy put me on my back, and he beat me. Came back, and I'm now wrestling for 3rd and 4th against the University of Iowa, a guy named Orsendorf, and I'm wrestling him. 12 seconds left. I'm ahead by 2. Just took him down. I thought, you know what? My coach was like, Rulon, ride him out. I'm like, no. I'm going to finish standing up and proud. Senior year of college. And I went out and I cut him, turned him away for 1 point. And instead of turning around and standing up, he turned around and shot. And he shot on me, went down to my ankle, and I'm down fighting him, and I put him on his back, and time runs out, and I look up, and we're in Iowa. And I look up, I'm like 1 and 2. I was ahead by 2, now I'm down by 1. I lost the match, took 4th place my senior year. My coaches are like, what were you thinking? And mistake, a simple mistake. My ego, my attitude, I'm going to finish. No, I should have just won the match, but I made a mistake. And as I got done, I was pretty disappointed, taking 4th. And I sat down and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And I had some of my family and friends and classmates say, hey, Rulon, quit that wrestling and become a teacher. And I'm like, no. You quit, quit wrestling or quit teaching and become a wrestler or make it to the Olympics. And some of my people said, hey, Rulon, quit everything and move back to the farm. It's easy, dude. I'm like, no, what's most important? And I said, excuse me, I said my education. I spent 2 more years at the University of Nebraska to get my degree. During that time, I didn't wrestle much because the guy that took my spot, a guy named Tolly Thompson, won the NCAA National Championship 2 years after I was done wrestling. So he didn't want to wrestle me because I could still beat him up. And so for me, I didn't really wrestle and train a lot, but I got my education. And I had a choice one night. I could go meet Garth Brooks or I could study for my anatomy bone exam. Oh, what to do? Got 192 points out of 200 the next day. 2 years later, I met Garth Brooks. 6 years later, Garth wrote the foreword on my book. Garth talked about all the character and everything I had developed. I'm like, I didn't see this character. It's who I was. It's what I did every day. And as I continued to go to school, I finally graduated after 6.5 years. And as I sat down with the new advisor, I said, why did it take me 6.5 years? I didn't, mess around. I said, I was here every day, and I never missed one class. Because if I missed one class, I would miss one opportunity to be my best. And if I missed that class and I failed and I didn't make it and didn't graduate from college or didn't go to the Olympics, that would be the reason. And I wasn't willing to put all that time and not make it. And I made 100% commitment that I would. And as I graduated, they simply said, Rulon, out of the 64 credits from the junior college, 16 of them were transferred. As a junior, you started as a freshman. They never told me this. They just told me I couldn't. And that made me so mad. And I said, you know what, give me my degree. I'm out of here. Thank you. Woohoo. And I left Lincoln, Nebraska, and I moved to Colorado Springs. And I got there, a guy named Matt Kafari, as you saw in the video, said, Rulon, I'm an Olympic and world silver medalist. You can't beat me. I'm best in America. I'm best in the world. Don't even think you can compete. And I'm like, what do I think of that? And I said, just like my brother. And for me, in my mindset, I may not beat you today, but through time and hard work, ultimately, I can defeat you. And that's the way I set my mentality up, and that's the way I pursued it. I moved to Colorado Springs, and every day I went back to the basics, and I built character every day. And that character made me who I was. It gave me a backbone of steel. Step 2 to overcoming obstacles, turn that negative into a positive. When somebody in your life says you can't, you won't, you will not, how do we handle that and perceive it? You can't to I can. You won't to I will. You will never to I'm going to. Maybe not today, but eventually I will be the person I'm developing to become. People ask me in my life, how good can you become? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, well, what do you mean? I said, I haven't gotten there yet. How high and how fast and how good can we become? We do not know until we reach the pinnacle. Even though you may get to the NCAAs and go, oh, I failed. That's just the first step. The Olympic Games was something I never imagined, but it was something I was given. And I took that and turned that negativity people gave me and drove it, and it became fire in my belly to become stronger and smarter and work harder. And I took that and I allowed that, turn that negative into a positive. Step 3 is to enlist other people. As I moved to Colorado Springs, I had a guy named Steve Frazier, 1984 Olympic champion, our national coach. And Steve set us down and said, Rulon, you have the heart, you have technique, you have an ability. And he said, these are your positive affirmations. You have a lot of heart, a lot of determination, devotion. He said, but you don't have a lot of technique because you've been wrestling Greco now for 2 years. He said, you don't have a lot of size because I'm 6'1", I'm short. Most of my opponents are between 6'3" to 6'5". Most of my opponents technically have been wrestling since they were little kids, Greco-Roman. It was a whole new sport for me. And as I got involved with it, I actually started to do pretty well. And the positive enforcement and the reinforcement that I got from my affirmations was I started to improve. And I saw that. Within the first year of moving to the Olympic Training Center, I made it to the 1997 World Championships. In the World Championships, I wrestled the big Russian, and I lost to him 5-0. In this match, he threw me on my head 3 times. He broke 2 vertebrae in my neck. As I walked off the mat losing 5-0, I walked off and said, hey, I'm getting better. Because for me, there was no expectation, because some people will be like, that was bogus, No, this guy is the world and Olympic champion. He is the best. But for me, if I continue to work, I eventually can beat him. And that's the mentality I took out of that day as I wrestled. I took 5th place the first year of living in Colorado Springs, and I came home and I'm like, hey, I'm getting better. And I enlisted all that support, but not just the people who supported me, but my enemies. By studying tapes and videos and films, I figured out why these guys were better. I figured out how they were technically beating me, and I had a lot to work on. And so I came back and I enlisted all that positive and negative support to make me better. But step 4 is to go out there and train hard every day. As I started to train in Colorado Springs, our coach, Steve Frazier, and other coaches talked about hard work and commitment. And we used to do things that were pretty crazy. One of the practices was called a grind match. A grind match was a 1 hour to 2 hour wrestling match. You wrestle for 2 hours straight. And anybody in here think they want to wrestle me for 2 hours? 1 or 2? I don't get tired. And I get meaner, and I get tougher, and I get nastier the tougher and the harder things get. Because that's what made me become a good wrestler. As we went through a grind match, the emotional roller coaster, because you hit that mental barrier and you have to break through it, because if you don't, you fear commitment. As I hit after 30 minutes, most times we'd bring these guys in from Russia and all over Europe, and after 30 minutes, they'd be crying because physically they didn't think they had it. Mentally, they shut down. They're like, I can't do it. Don't make me do it. That's what they were telling their coaches, and it was so fun to see them break. And as we went through half an hour into an hour, we're going, hey, this is halfway done. In an hour and 15 to an hour and 30, I'm going, you know what? I'm almost there. In an hour and 50 minutes, I say, you know what? I'm not even tired. In 2 hours after the grind match is over, I get up and do sprints. My partners are over on the floor going, what is he doing? What's he trying to prove? And they watch me get better. Because every day when I hit that mental barrier or that wall, most people back off and they're like, I'm good. No. Truly great athletes push through that. What's the difference between you and somebody in the NFL, the NBA, the Olympics? What's the difference between that? Is it athletic ability, maybe size, maybe a little bit, but heart, determination. In college, the junior college I went to, I talked to my college coach and I said, why did you recruit me? I said, you saw me my senior year lose my only match. I went out there and I pinned the guy the year before, and I went out there and he saw me make it to the finals, and his coach came out and wrestled around, and they figured out how to beat me, and they beat me by 3 points my senior year in high school. And I talked to my college coach. I said, you saw me lose my only match, but you still recruited me. I said, why? He said, Rulon, he said, because with 2 seconds left in that match, you still thought you could win. I said, of course. He said, that's the difference. He said, I can teach a wrestler with heart, technique, but I can't teach somebody who has all technique and no heart. You have the ability to learn and the desire to become better. And that's what will make you eventually a champion. I didn't understand it at that point, but as I slowly got better, I started to see what he meant. And that was the desire that I had. So when I went back to Colorado from 1997 to 98, I worked hard. And the day after a grind match, we would wrestle what was called a shark bait. And it was pretty fun because we'd go in the middle of the mat for 9 minutes to 20 minutes straight. Each minute somebody new would come in, and after 1 minute when he left, I knew he'd be more tired than me, and I'm the one staying in the middle. So for me, physically and mentally, I got tougher. And all my partners, they knew watching me, I can't compete. And so a lot of times they started to fear commitment, started to fear coming to practice. And I'm like, why do we have, 7 heavyweights in Colorado Springs, and some days we wouldn't have one other heavyweight show up except for me? And I said to these guys, I'm like, where are you at? Why don't you come in and wrestle and train? If you say you're here to become an Olympian, come help me and I'll help you. Well, they have every excuse in the book. And for me, no. I was willing to commit, and that's what I did. And from 97 to 98, I went to Cuba, to Russia, and I won every tournament. And I came back and I lost to McAfee. And he went and took second at the Worlds again, and I came back and I'm like, keep working, believe in yourself, you can do it. And for that next year, I trained and I did everything I could, and I lost again in 1999. I didn't lose to Ghaffari, but I lost to another American named Jermil Byers. Jermil went and took 6th at the Worlds. And that next year I came back in August. In September, I went back in and I sat down and I said, Coach, I have less than 1 year to make the Olympic team. I need a change. I need to do something different because the first year there, I took 5th at the Worlds. The last 2 years, I didn't even place. I didn't even get to go. I said, I must have done something wrong. I need to change. I need to move somewhere else, and I need to make a difference. He said, Rulon, he said, I promise you, and I guarantee you, if you stay here and you train as hard as you have for the next year as you have for the past 3 years, you'll make the Olympic team. I'm like, but Steve, I'm like, I'm number 3. He said, Rulon, he said, nobody in this wrestling room is more committed, has more devotion, and you can do it, and I know you can. And I believe in you. And as I walked out of his office that day, I said, wow, how can this Olympic champion believe in me this much? I said, why? I said, because he knows what it takes to be the best. And I 100% committed. And every day I'd go home, and I had a big chalkboard at my house. I would put a big old check if I were committed, and I did my best. Every day I had a date, and I gave 100%. And I asked myself those 3 things. Did I do my absolute best? Did I do everything in my potential? And is there anything else I could do today to help me be the champion? And for that next year, every day there was. Every day I did it. And I made it all the way to the final Olympic trials. And I'm wrestling. It's now 1 match to 1 match against McCormick, 3rd and final match. And I look up, and McCormick is being coached by a UFC fighter named Randy Couture, the natural. And Randy and another coach are coaching him. And I look up and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have it. And I look over and they start laughing. I'm like, really? I'm like, you guys are taking this so lightly. You guys are going to laugh within 5 minutes of us wrestling. And that made me so mad. And I was so furious. And I got out there and I kicked his butt. I drove him around the match. I beat him 1-0. But I pushed him out of bounds 6 times and he had no answer. As I won the match, my sisters, and I have 4 sisters, and I talk about my sisters because my brothers are pushovers compared to my sisters because you don't want to mess with them. And my 4 sisters ran up and they're like, aren't you mad? I'm like, about what? And they're like, all the media is interviewing Ghaffari and not you. I'm like, so? And they're like, well, don't you want to be famous? I said, no. I said, I want to go to the Olympics, and I'm going, woohoo. And they're like, whoa, now what? And I'm like, I got to get ready for the Olympics. At that point, and so many people get there and they're like, woohoo, I'm here. And they quit. For me, they're like, well, now what? I said, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to prepare. I got 2 months to go to the Olympics, and that's what I did. For the next month, I trained hard, and I committed, gave 100%. We went to a tournament in Russia 1 month before the Olympic Games, and in this tournament, you have 30 Russians in every weight class. In Greco-Roman, that and the marathon are the 2 original Olympic sports. And the Russians, since it's Greek and Romans, is a European sport. They don't like us Americans to be good. So when I went out there and I'm wrestling against the number 2, number 3, number 4 guy from Russia, and I beat him, it doesn't make him very happy. And I made it to the finals against the number 2 Russian, a guy named Yuri Petrikiev. Karelin, who I beat in the Olympics, set out of the tournament because he was the best. He didn't have to wrestle in these small tournaments, only the big ones. So in the finals, I went out there and I thought, I'm going to show that I got it. I'm the baddest. I'm tough. And I went out there and I'm like, I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to show you how good. Within 13 seconds of attacking him, he threw me and he pinned me. He used all that aggression and all that anger and all that excitement against me. As they raised his hand, I lost. As I walked off the mat, I was a failure. And I grabbed a table and I put everything I knew about the sport of wrestling on the table. I said, I have 1 month to prepare for the Olympics. I said, I'm going to leave all the crap behind, and I'm going to pick up heart, commitment, desire, devotion, determination to be the best that I can. And that's what I did. For that next month, I trained and worked and committed and did my best. As we got to Sydney, Steve Fraser, our coach, said, Rulon, you've trained, you've bled, you've cried, you've done everything you can to get here. Now step 5 is take care of business. This is your one opportunity to win a medal here in Sydney. Go for it. Some of the guys went out there and they got to go see every sporting event. If you're an Olympic athlete, you can walk into any venue, but it allows you to lose focus. Some of the Americans went and did that. Some of the Americans are like, woohoo, we're going to get drunk. And they went and partied. They had a great time. But for me, I don't drink alcohol. I've never drank. I've never smoked. I don't do drugs. Those things would not help me. Because for my whole life, I could not lose focus of what was important. And I got to Sydney, I made that commitment. Every night before I went to bed, I got to see the Olympic torch after the opening ceremonies. And I made a prayer that I would not leave Australia without giving 100%. And every night I went to bed preparing. As I got up, I had 16 family members there to watch me wrestle. Win, lose, or draw, I would be successful because my family was there to support me. As we went out there, I won my first match 8-2, second match 6-0. Third match, I was actually won 2-1. The fourth match, I'm wrestling a guy from Israel who was born and raised in Russia. He was about 6'5", and he had a bald head, and he looked like Mr. Clean, and he was mean and tough. And I went out there, and he got ahead of me 2-0. And I came back, and my coach was like, Rulon, you'll beat him. Just be patient. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get him. I got him. Because what made me a good wrestler is most guys started strong, and they got weak. I started slow, and I got tougher through the match. Because most guys in the world had never wrestled for 2 hours. For me, it was what was norm. For them, it was something they never thought about. So in these matches, Coach Fraser's like, be patient. He knew which athletes were out drinking vodka and smoking at 3 o'clock in the morning because they had these huge parties. And he knew that I had the ability to beat them if I stayed with our game plan. As we went through the first period into the second period, I was losing now 2-0, and he's like, be patient. He said, now go for it. And I picked the big guy up, the Israeli, and I carried him all the way to the edge of the mat in a body lock. And if you start to throw inbounds and you finish it through the zone off the mat, they'll give you continuation. And I was so committed being at the Olympic Games, I carried him to the edge of the zone, through the zone, onto the wood floor, then I threw him. When I threw him, my head, whack, hit the wood floor. As I hit the wood floor, my opponent knew I was going left, so he went to the right. As I landed, his 300 pounds, my 300 pounds landed on my head. His weight, his chin, caught the wood floor. As I popped him through, I looked up and I expected to get 3 points for the throw, and the referee said, whoa, 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 way too far out of bounds. No points, back to the middle. As I came back to the middle, I heard Fraser going, Rulon, you did it, you got him. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just gave myself a concussion, and you're telling me I'm going to beat him? He's like, look at him. I'm like, huh? Trying to figure out where I'm at, and I look over, and he's sitting over there, and he's bleeding, split his chin wide open, and he was bleeding all over, and they had to go over and they had to tape it. And Fraser's like, look in his eyes. He's scared. He doesn't think he has it in him. Rulon, you can do it. This is your chance. This is your window. I'm like, you know what? Okay. And I walked back to the middle of the mat, and I thought, you know what? Do I believe? And I said, yes, I do. As he came in there, within 20 seconds, I scored a point. Within another 20 seconds, I scored a second point. In overtime, the referee, to start overtime, had to physically help him to stand. As we started, within 20 seconds, I scored my third point to win the match. I walked off the match. Karelin was watching, and Karelin's going, this is easy. He could kill that guy 10-0. But for me, every day when I walked into that wrestling room, who did I picture? Karelin. People always said, oh, your mindset was great. I said, yeah. I said, because for me, I didn't just walk in there wrestling anybody. I walked in there wrestling him. So when I walked out there, right before the match started, we're getting ready to walk through the entryway, and I have my coaches are like, Rulon, you can beat him. Rulon, you can do it. Rulon, Rulon. I'm like, shh, leave me alone. They're like, huh? My coaches are like, but we're coaching you. I'm like, leave me alone. Because every day when I went to that wrestling room, I went through all the progressions of my mindset. And I wasn't going to allow myself to lose focus that day. And that's the way I did it. I came out there ready to wrestle. And right before the match started, they introduced us. And I thought to myself, just don't start crying. I'm like, because for me, I've never been to the Olympics. I'm like, I'm on national TV, and this is cool, and all this stuff. And I'm like, just be who you are. And I remember saying that to myself. And people were like, oh, Karelin was such a jerk, and he was this. And I'm like, they told him before the match had started, they already announced his 4th gold medal retirement party. They'd already given him the medal. And the coaches saw that. They said, hey, he's nervous. He's not ready for you. You can do this. And I'm like, did I think I could? No. The odds of me beating him were 2,000-1. But the opportunity was there. How many of us perceive things as an obstacle or an opportunity? Many obstacles create great opportunity. Even though the odds of me beating him were 2,000-1, the opportunity was still there. Did I think I could beat him? Not a chance in the world. But was I given a chance? Yes. Was I willing to take it? Yes. Our goal was to push him, challenge him. When he was big, he had the strength of an Olympic power lifter. He had the flexibility. He could do back handsprings across the mat. And as I went out there, I had a chance, and that was our goal. When he got big and strong, you be fast and quick. When he got quick, you got strong. And that's the way we wrestled him, give and take. Through the first period, nobody scored into the second. They put us in a clinch. And the clinch position was actually done for the referees because in the old days, the referees would determine, oh, Russia, you paid us more money? Here, gold medal for Russia. But they said, no, we're going to be official. So they flipped a coin. The coin toss went in Karelin's favor. He locked up first. As he locked me up, I told the referee, I'm like, hey, this isn't fair. And the referee said, USA, attention. If you don't lock up, it's a caution too. And I thought, you know what, this isn't fair, but what do? Do I let all that hard work go by? I'm like, no, take a chance. As he locked up, I took a bad lock, didn't have a chance, didn't really feel comfortable, but I gave myself a chance. As the referee blew the whistle, we started. And my goal wasn't just to stay neutral, it was to try to improve a position. So as I started to improve, Karelin hesitated. If he would have just done what he should have, he would have probably scored and been easy. But he gave me a window of opportunity. And as I got that window, I started to get in better position. He made a mistake. He broke his hands. I actually went. And the first referee on the mat, there was 3 of them. The first referee said, Russia, you get a point. The second referee is like, Russia, you get a point. The third referee said, hey, we have video replay. We better watch it. And as I went there looking at the video, right behind the referee's table is the Russian Federation. And Karelin is a person. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a colonel in the Russian army. He's one of the head tax collectors. He's in the parliament, and he's in the mafia. So as a person, he's one of the 5 richest men in Russia. There are more billionaires in Moscow than New York City, by the way. So Russia, he's not doing very bad. And so the Russians that night offered $1.1 million cash for that medal to win that point. But the referee said, no. USA, 1 point, Russia, nothing. As I awarded the point, the first thing I did, I turned the page because I had gone out there to take care of business. Everything to that point was great, but now, just like you guys go out there in your second half, and you guys have seen when you're ahead in a game, when you start relaxing and they catch you and they beat you, no way in the world was I going to relax like I did my last match at college. Not a chance. And I went out there, turned the page, and said, I got 5.5 minutes left of war. As time went through the second and third period, Karelin, nobody believed they could beat him. Nobody thought they could stick with him. As time ran down, Karelin didn't know what to do. He tried to get me tired. I'm like, this is where I'm good. With 30 seconds left, I'm like, you got anything else? Because for me, I was ready. I'd been waiting my whole life, and my conditioning had been working for this 1 point. As I got the victory, I won the match, I raised my hands, I threw that, and I got up and I did a cartwheel, and I did a front roll. You guys, you simulate, and a lot of you athletes, you learn every day. I've watched technique all the way across the room, and I've gone out and done it. And I remember thinking, where did I learn that? Because people always tease me of having a pretty cartwheel, and I'm like, okay, I'll do a cartwheel after I win, because everybody that won did a backflip. I can't do a backflip, first of all. Killed myself, break my neck. But as they went out there, I did a cartwheel and a front roll. How many of you have ever watched Dumb and Dumber? In the restaurant, they're in there, and he goes out and he tears the guy's heart out. At the beginning, he does a cartwheel and a front roll. I'm not saying that's where I got my cartwheel and my front roll from, but I could have taken that from Dumb and Dumber. But my life, it's all possible. Let's put it that way. So every day in life, you're always learning. So as I came back, I won the gold medal. I'm on the stand, and I'm sitting there. I'm hearing the national anthem. I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, no, not possible. And I thought, if this is real, I'm going to reach out and touch his head. And 98% was going to touch him to see if it was true. And I'm like, no, if it is true, you're going to make a fool of yourself, and you're going to insult the Russians, and you don't want to do that any more than you have. So, and I got done, I won. I'm like, really? I won the gold medal. I came back, and I got to do Leno and Letterman and Conan and Rosie, and I got to go everywhere in the ESPYs and Yankee Stadium. And I got to do everything I've ever wanted to. And they're like, how did you win? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know how you won? I'm like, I don't. They're like, but didn't you plan on it? I'm like, not really. I planned on going, planned on competing, planned on doing my best. But the people around me, the coaches, gave me the knowledge to believe. And I believed 100%. Was I given the gift? No. I had to earn it. But did I believe? 100%. They're like, what are you going to do after you win the world or won the Olympics? I said, I'm going to keep wrestling. 2001, I came back in. I made it to the World Championships. I'm wrestling Yuri Petrachiev, the guy that pinned me in 13 seconds. And I'm wrestling him. I'm going the first period. He scores a point. I try to throw him out of bounds. He scores 2 more. I'm losing 3-0 with a minute left. And I throw him 3 times out of bounds, and every time the referee waves it off. Could have gotten a point every time, but wrestling in Europe, in Greece, you're not going to get a call. 3rd time I come back in, I'm waiting. As he walks in, the referee blows the whistle. And I thought, you know what? Do I have to go? I won the Olympics last year. I'm a champion. And I said, yes, you have to. I said, you will not stop until the referee makes you. As he stepped in, I stepped in. I picked him up. I threw him, and I pinned him. Won the match with less than 20 seconds left by pin. Moved on. I won the semifinals 3-0. I won the World Championships 2-0. Became the first American to win Olympic gold medal, world champion. Came back 2 months later. I'm back in Wyoming snowmobiling with some of my friends, and I'm climbing these big mountains, and I get stuck. Come back around. I can't find my friends, and I'm like, well, maybe they're down in this, this mountain, this canyon. I'm like, maybe they're there. So I start dropping in, and it's 6 feet of powder, just like you're riding on air. Just amazing. Get down in there. I'm like, uh-oh. Your snowmobile's stuck. You don't have enough power to go up. The only choice is to go down in further. Went down in further. I got into 2 water holes, and my snowmobile sunk. And I jumped off my sled, about 12,000 feet elevation. My snowmobile's in the water, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a world and Olympic champion. I don't need help. I can do it. And I jump in the water, and I pick up the snowmobile twice, and I push it out of the river. So I'm wet up to my shoulders and my thighs, and I save myself. I get out. Now I'm in the bottom of this meadow. I'm like, I can't go up, so the only choice is to follow the river back to my hometown. I live about an hour south of Jackson Hole or Yellowstone, middle of the mountain, middle of these big mountains. And so I'm like, I'll just follow it back. So I start going about 7 miles in about 2 hours, and my snowmobile gets stuck between 2 big boulders. And I'm pulling it backwards, and my hands slip, and I fall into the river. Turn over, and I stand up. Now I'm completely wet. Problem was, it was such a nice warm day. I didn't wear my winter coat. I had a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and a fleece top. Both of my gloves were wet. Everything was wet. I decided I need to leave my stuff and find a place and stop being stupid and sit down and wait to be rescued. As I found a place at about 7 o'clock at night, I sat down. From 7 o'clock at night until 4:30 in the morning, I would stand up and sit down. I would pray. I would ask for help. I would dream about wrestling at the Olympics. At 4:30, I had a vision. I saw Jesus and God and my brother Ronald, who died. And they said, Rulon, let's go home. I'm like, I'm not ready to go. I want to wrestle. I want to live. I want to come back. I want to have a family. I'm not ready to die yet. Please, please. I'm like, it's time to come home. My brother died of aplastic anemia, and I was so infatuated with seeing him. I was so happy to see him that there was no way I wasn't going to die. And I said, please, give me one more chance. And I remember waking up being, yay, there's life after death, and my brother's doing okay. Everything's fine. But then realizing I still had the 2 coldest hours. From 4:30 to 6:30, it gets the coldest. At 6:30, I'm shivering. I'm waking up, and I'm up and sitting down, standing up, and I'm cold. Hypothermia, frostbite. And I walk down the river. I'm like, I need a drink of water, but everything's just frozen. My clothes are just crunchy, and I'm like, just get a drink. So I put my hands right in the river, get down, take a sip of water, and I'm like, I need to walk, but I need to lay down because I'm dying. And I'm like, okay, just sit down and wait to be rescued. They'll see you and everything else. And after about 10 minutes of laying down, I remember hearing the airplane coming through the canyon. He's like, hey, I see you. He tips his wings to say, I see you. He turned around, he flew out, and it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and the temperature was 25 below zero. I'd been up there for 15 hours. As he circled, he said, you need to get here now because he's not doing very well. As he came in the canyon, they called for search and rescue, but because the Winter Olympics was going on, nobody could come in with the right helicopter and pick me up. We were at such high elevation, and I weighed so much that very few people could do that. And after 3 hours of circling me, finally a helicopter came in from Idaho, picked me up, took me to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, my core temperature was 80 degrees. As I got to the hospital in Wyoming, the doctor's like, dude, you should be dead. They took me in and actually pulled me in a wheelchair, and they were putting me in the hospital, and I tried to stand up, and I had a foot of ice frozen at the bottom of my boots. As I got on the table, my friends who had stayed up all night, who couldn't get to me, all started arriving. And as they got there, I started laughing. They're like, what are you laughing at? I said, because I made it. They're like, what do you mean? I said, because I saw the sunrise. Because the sun would bring heat, heat would bring life, and I would live. My life came down, I would have given everything I ever owned for one match, for one thing in my life. As I got there, the doctor said, Rulon, your feet are frozen. And the only way they could get them off of my feet was with a cast saw. They split the boots in half, and my feet were solidly frozen. They said, you got to go somewhere else. They flew me to Idaho. The doctor there said, Rulon, your feet are done. We can't do anything with them. You're going to be amputated both feet within the week. Your wrestling career is over. I said, please, Dr. Thurman, will you do what you can? He's like, I can't promise. I said, no. If you don't, we're leaving. My sister's a cardiologist. My other sister's a nurse. My mom's a nurse. We will find somebody who'll help. He said, I'll try. I said, do everything you can. After a month of losing all the tissue on my toes and most of my foot, they went in, and I had the first of 5 surgeries. First surgery, they went in, they put skin grafts on. They went in, and after that, I had no bleeding. My feet were basically dead. And they said, well, we need to take you to the hyperbaric chamber. We think it'll help. Went in, my feet started to heal. A month of that, another surgery, a third surgery. In the 4th surgery, they ended up amputating the middle toe on the right foot. After that, my feet started to heal. In June, I started to walk. In July, I started to wear shoes. In August, I went back to Colorado. And everybody's like, what are you doing, dude? You can't walk. Your feet are bleeding. You can't wrestle. You're past your prime. I said, no, not yet. And I came back in September. My training partner, Jermeel Byers, won the Worlds. Here I am, world Olympic champion, 0. Step 6 is to aim high when you're feeling low. I went from being the best in the world to 0. Came back, and they're like, what are you going to do? I said, you know what? I'm going to try to beat Byers. I don't know if I can. But within 8 months, I beat the reigning world champion. In the process, I realized I wasn't as good. I didn't have all the agility I used to because I lost all the feeling in my toes. Because of the nerve damage, I couldn't feel my toes. I didn't have the range of motion. All the ligaments were basically frozen. So I had to relearn how to feel my feet. I had to relearn how to walk, balance, and everything. I'd walk out and fall down. So I had to learn all over again. So I made a commitment that I'd make up for what I lost. So I started lifting weights and squatted over 550, benched over 400, actually 475. I was bigger, stronger than ever before. And I was finally coming back, and I made the 2003 world team, came back, and I made the 2004 Olympic team. I beat Byers. The day after I beat the reigning world champion, he said, Rulon, I'll do everything I can to help you. We went to the Olympic Games in Athens, perfect situation, all the way to the finals, 1-1, or semifinals, 1-1 in overtime, perfect, my position. In the clinch, and I have to score. I got him. I'm going after him. He knee taps me, takes me down, and he beats me. I actually lost the match. They raised his hand. I walked off. In all this national media, sports media came up, and they're like, dude, you're a failure. You're a loser. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, I lost the match, but I'm not a failure. I'm not a loser. But you didn't win a gold medal. I'm like, so? They're like, but you lost. I said, I'm good at losing. Doesn't mean I like it. But they're like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go out and win a bronze medal. But they're like, aren't you devastated? I said, of course I am. I said, but I did everything I could. I did my 3 points. I did my best. I did everything in my potential. I did everything I could to win, but I lost. Well, now what? I said, win a bronze. Went out there and I wrestled the Iranian who was 6'9", and I beat him 3-0. He'd thrown everybody through the tournament, and I beat him 3-0. I decided to retire, leave my shoes on the mat. I'm like, woohoo. Step 6 is to aim high when I'm feeling low. I went from top, bottom, top. And now I'm like, okay, done with my wrestling career. I'll never weigh in. I'll never wrestle. I get to enjoy life. Life is good. I'm 34 years old. I'm like, just enjoy. And so I gave my body a little bit of time. I had a partially torn medial collateral, and shoulder was messed up. And I gave my body time to heal. But I kept eating the way I did as an athlete. And I love to eat, as you can imagine. So I started putting a little weight on, a little more, a little more. 1 week turned into a month, turned into a year, turned into 2, 3, 4. And finally, I did the broadcasting in 08 and 09. I went in and people started saying, hey, you need to kind of look at yourself. I'm like, no, I'm fine. In 09, they said, hey, I'm getting inducted to the Wrestling Hall of Fame. They're like, hey, you need to look at yourself. You're putting a little weight on. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, seriously, Rulon, I need to. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And I saw myself on TV, and I didn't even notice, and I didn't recognize myself. So I went out there, and they said, hey, you should try out for The Biggest Loser. I'm like, no, I don't need that. I'm like, you know what? Yes. I'll try out. And I went, and the problem was I started to build a gym. And in 08 and 07, when the financial crash happened, I got depressed. I got down because I was going to lose everything. I put almost $1 million of everything I'd ever done into this gym, and it was all going to go by. I finally got my gym opened, and I had a partner in my gym. We were both high school friends, grew up about an hour from each other in Wyoming, and we partnered up in this gym, and we both got on The Biggest Loser. And I got there, and the thing I thought about is, you know what? I can come learn from the best trainers in the world, Bob, Jillian, Brett, and Kara, and it was fun. When I first started, nobody didn't like me, but I started hearing people say, it's not fair, he's a gold medalist, he knows how to cut weight, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But as I got stronger and stronger, I got down closer to weight, and we went to New Zealand, we had all this fun stuff, and I came in, and I just started hearing more of these people just lying and saying, oh, well, he knows how to dehydrate, and they took hydration tests, and I never failed the test, and they're like, how are you losing so much weight? And I said, because I'm not weak. Like, this is where I'm good. I said, I'm back to my Olympic weight. I said, trust me. I said, you have no idea what I'm capable of. And I went with 3 weeks left. I decided to leave the show and come back and try to make this year's Olympic team. And I came off, and the week I left, I lost 12 pounds. 3 weeks, and for me, I was going to win the show at about 215 pounds. And there was no way I could have made the Olympic team. So as I came home, I was weak. I didn't have the strength. And so I started lifting. And I was doing everything just like I did in 2004 to make the weight. And I got all the way to the Olympic trials this year. Cut weight. I go in. I have 8 hours left. I'm 4 pounds from making weight, and I pass out. Wake up about an hour and 15 minutes into it, and I'm in and out of consciousness. I was there, but I wasn't there. And finally, my wife said, you know what? This isn't worth it. And finally, we said, you know what? The Olympics is only the Olympics. My life is much more important. So I didn't make weigh-ins. I could have with 4 pounds left, but what if I'd have died? It wasn't worth it. And for me, I didn't make weigh-ins. I went, and I wrestled Byers. What was funny is, first day of training, we didn't like training because we were pretty good friends, and we didn't really talk. And I got to the Olympic camps, and we wrestled the first day. I kicked the living crap out of him the first day, and the coach was like, dude, you could have won a medal, you could have won a gold medal, but I didn't. And they're like, what are you going to do? You know, you're going to walk away? I said, no, I'm going to keep helping Byers. And we trained and pushed and got him to the Olympics. He didn't win a medal, but he did pretty well. And he fell short. And so for me, there's so much more I want to do with the sport of wrestling. Step 7, overcoming obstacles, is don't rest on those laurels. Don't give up on yourself. I trained so hard to get to where I wanted to be, then I relaxed. I lost focus. For me, I want to come back at 44, 45 years old and beat these guys. People nowadays, in this summer, these 20 to 30-year-old guys are like, how can you beat me? You're 40 years old. I'm like, because I'm better than you. Like, how can you beat me? I said, I'm not weak like you. How can you beat me? I want it more than you. You know, yeah, there is God-given ability, but there also is the heart, the desire. You know, and you athletes in here, you know, when does injuries happen? When you're out of position, when you make a mistake. You know, knock on wood, I've been pretty healthy through the sport of wrestling. I've had a few broken bones, but for the most part, I've been very gifted, been very blessed. You know, yeah, I have 10 broken ribs and part of the sport, but you learn. You make mistakes, you grow, and you build yourself, and you make yourself better. You know, these 7 steps help me to overcome. And I ask you in your life, think to yourself, you know, what you want to be doing in 10 years, in 5 years, next year, tomorrow. Look in the mirror when you go home and say, how good can I become? You know, don't rely on your teammates, your friends, your family. You've got the world in front of you. You know, and you hear a lot of old athletes go, man, I wish I was where you're at. If I was and I was you wrestlers, woohoo, I'd tear some people up. Because you know what? Life is all about what you make of it. And the better you get, the easier it gets, but the more focused you have to be. As I got out and I won the gold medal, there was more pressure than ever. But when I got out there, I said, what's my positive affirmations? I'm a hard worker. I have good positioning. I'm technically and physically strong and mentally tough. That's what makes me good. If I can do it, you can do it. You guys, you have all the world in front of you. Why not go out there and dominate? Believe in that ability. Most people said, you should have quit. Nah. I was either too stupid or too stubborn, but I didn't give up on myself. Perceive that opportunity or that obstacle is the same. When somebody gets in front of you, say either I'm going through, you're going around, you're going over you, but I'm going to make it. Don't allow yourself to fall short of your goal. If you lose, get up. Keep fighting. Even if you don't win an NCAA title, the Olympic trials, keep going. May not be in sports, but maybe in life, but reach that potential no matter what you do every day and in every way possible. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
There's a microphone in the middle. I would like to ask if you want any questions.
Anybody want to demonstrate? Yeah, if you guys want to get pictures and stuff, I have my autobiography. It's a good Christmas gift and all that fun stuff. It kind of goes minute by minute details of the frostbite. And most people are like, that had to be horrible. Then that night, it was horrible. Now, you can cut my legs off, but it wouldn't affect me. Because it's all about here, in your heart. What you want. So do we have football in here? Football? Basketball? Volleyball? My wife was a volleyball player at college too. So she played volleyball. I tried to get her to make the Olympic team this year. We could both make the team, but she said she didn't want to show them up. But you know what? And honestly, you somewhat have to have that courage to say, I don't care what you say, because I can push through it. Most people say that about me. They're like, dude, you never even should have made, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but it didn't matter to what I could. And that was up to each and every one of us. Any questions?
Do you have any questions? Do you want to go to the microphone?
No, you guys got to study tonight. Yeah, question.
Come to the mic, please.
What does that mean?
Sir, what are you doing Saturday?
What am I doing Saturday?
Yes.
You looking for a player?
I don't know if you make the team over here or not. We're pretty good. But you should come to the game Saturday.
I'm gonna.
Free.
I have a few hookups now. I'm gonna be in South Dakota, speaking and actually doing some clinics for some kids in South Dakota. Sorry. I appreciate the offer. I'm a pretty good deep snapper, if anything. I kick off too sometimes. What was fun is, after my senior year of wrestling, I actually did spring ball in Nebraska the first year before they won the first of 3 or 4 national titles there. And I got to play for Tom Osborne and be part of that team. And it was just amazing to see the level of athletes all over the country. Question?
You still wrestle?
Do I still wrestle? Yeah.
2 weeks. I got a match for you.
Me and you?
No. You versus my man J-Tech. J-Tech, stand up. Who do we in?
It looks like he's scared.
He's all intimidation games.
He's got that crazy hair going on. It's got to account for something. And what was funny with me is, like, when Karelin would come out and, like, shake your hand, these big, strong guys, they'd be like, ugh, and you're like, because I knew within 1 to 2 minutes it was over. They were just a rag doll. After that point, I could just wait people out and get them tired. And I got to wrestle some studs. And then in junior, or actually it was my freshman year in high school, go to this tournament. You guys ever watch Napoleon Dynamite? That was filmed in Preston, Idaho, about an hour and a half from where I grew up. And so we went to this tournament, or actually this dual meet, and I'm weighing in, and I'm this like 5'2", 200-pound roly-poly kid, and not very athletic looking, and they're laughing at me. And before the weigh-ins, and they're laughing, oh, you can't, and I go out there and I pin them in the first period. So I may not look like much, but I had heart and I had desire, and it doesn't matter what you look like. What matters is what you got inside you. That's the key. Last question. You guys got study hall and stuff, right? Well, I played football. If I'd been a better athlete, you know, maybe I could have came here. But if I'd have been a better athlete, I wish I could have played football. You know, and I know Stephen Neal actually, he never played football his career. He actually went and played for the New England Patriots for 7 years. He was a world champ wrestler. I like to, and then in high school, I got to throw the discus and the shot put. I'm throwing the shot put, and I throw 50, 51, and I look up, and here's this guy named John Godina. He throws 75. And the discus, I throw 145. He throws 220. He was a world champion in the discus and a two-time world champ in the shot put, and he's from Wyoming. So I realized maybe track and field wasn't my sport, and so you had to pick and choose. You know, I love every sport out there. I'm not the best at everything, but I'll try. And wrestling was something that just came naturally because, you know, if you go to Russia and China, you're done. If you're not the chosen athlete, you don't go. You know, but in America, because of who I was and I kept having that desire, I eventually made the team, and the coaches had to support me, and they did, and they allowed me the opportunity to win a medal. Yeah.
I just have a quick question. So, what is your advice to help people overcome low situations just like you? What is your advice?
You know, like my high school teacher told me, come to school every day and give 100%. You know, and you're going to be like, you know, my test. You know, I had students with disabilities. Nebraska wouldn't let me fail. After I got, you know, after I finally, you know, like, you're going to walk and get your diploma. I'm like, I'm out of here. I spent 6.5 stinking years here. I'm not going to spend one extra day. I'm out of here. I was ready to go. But you know what? They couldn't hold me down. They couldn't, oh, you're depressed or you get an injury. This, you know what? You know, mentally, you may be slower, but even today, if I have to read something, and I was at the Olympics trying to read, and I'm still in the back of my mind listening for people to tease me, because it affects you. But you know what? Heart of stone and a heart of courage and a mindset of never giving up. And you know what? You may not be the best or the baddest, but through adversity, you can become a champ at whatever it is. And it may not be in athletics. You know, I wish, you know, heck, I wish I was Bill Gates. I'd never wrestled a day in my life, you know. But you got to find out what you're good at. You know, and if you could be a Deion Sanders or just a phenom athlete, it'd be great. But not, you know, not all people are that way. But truly, people that go through adversity, and most people who it's a gift, they're done. They quit at high school because they were content. But I was never satisfied with being mediocre. I want to be the best that I can every day. So when life looks and it is tough, you know what? Get up, fight. You know, life, you know, the only person who will determine your future is you. And I get to speak to about 20,000 kids a year. And you go to these schools and, you know, how many of you guys in here, how many of you guys believe in yourself? How many of you? I'm hoping about 99%. You go to schools, 50%, maybe. Kids don't believe in themselves. You got to believe. You know what? You may not be the national champ, so go out there and get that degree, get that education, go out there and be what you want to be. You know, look at all the success around you. You know, I've gone through so much adversity, but I'm going to open up my gym. I'm going to have a successful gym. I'm going to, you know, I'm talking about selling medical devices. I get to do, you know, I want to be everything. I want to be a pilot. I want to be as much as I can be. In America, we still have the right to be what we want and do what we want, when we want, and how we want. That's what's so great about this country. Thank you very much. If you want to take pictures, I'll be over here. Thank you so much tonight.